when we launched the global movement of nonviolent resistance, we got from many people criticism saying, what are you talking about? Nonviolence is not going to work in Palestine, and it's all about armed resistance to armed oppression. And I want to make it clear here that the starting point of our support to the Palestinians should be through something which is a clarity in our discourse and our understanding. And the problem that we have is that many of us here, we support Palestinians, but there is a great deal of disagreement as to what are we talking about. Are we talking about the means? Are we talking about the principles? Or are we talking about the solutions? So the point in this global movement was we have to come to something which is, let us at least agree on some principles while we disagree on the means and we disagree on the solutions. Some are for the two-state solution, some for a binational state. I was always for one state, and I know that among the people who are supporting Palestinians, among even the Muslims, we disagree on that. On the means, how do we deal with the situation, and how could be and which kind of resistance there? Can we target civilians? Yes, no. On the means we disagree, on the limits we disagree. But there are principles on which I think that we can agree crossing the board. Whoever you are, whatever is your background, atheists, agnostic, Jews, Christians, Muslims, if we support Palestinians. And these principles, and I want it to be clear because when I speak about non-violence resistance, many people are confusing the level and the scope of what we are talking about. Now, 7 principles on which we can agree, and I think that this is also helping to understand what I mean by non-violent resistance. The first is really to say that this is not, and this is also a response to what you are saying, it's not a religious conflict. It's a political conflict, and it has to do with politics. So we can, with our religion, as Christians, as Jews, and as Muslims, come with an understanding of the solutions and how we have to deal with it. For example, as a Muslim, I would say it should be clear that whoever lives in Palestine or in Israel will have exactly the same equal rights to worship, freedom to believe in whatever he or she wants to believe and not to believe. The starting point is equality and no oppression and no opposition and no specific rights to a specific religion. Equality and equal. So this is one. This is a religious take on something which is a political discussion. We are talking here politics, and this has to do with this. The second is quite clear that in all this, what we are talking about, there is an oppressor and they are oppressed, and the state of Israel is the oppressor and the Palestinians are the oppressed. So this is the starting point. If you support Palestinians, I think that you should agree on that at least. This equal, neutral attitude, oh, we are both on the same. I don't think that this is acceptable from a starting point. The third one is that because there is an oppressor and there are oppressed people, the Palestinian resistance is legitimate. So this is a point. Now, it's not for me to tell them what are the means that you are using. Because I think that when we have an armed oppression, the armed resistance is something which is legitimate. This is their decision, and this is where they are. Now, I would say I would prefer to find a non-violent resistance over there, but it's not for me when they all say after 60 years, they are telling you, when you listen to them, we are not pacifists. The state of Israel and even some people supporting the state of Israel in the name of the Jewish tradition are saying, we are not pacifists. So there is nothing to do with us, this. So I would say that we have to be quite clear on their resistance is legitimate. This is the third point. The fourth point is the right to be treated equally. And this also has to do with something which is a wrong discourse that we are accepting here, is that Israel is the only democracy treating all the citizens in the equal right, equal way. This is wrong. This is a lie. It's not true for all the Arab Palestinians and Israelis that are living there, and they are also oppressed, structurally and legally discriminated. The fifth principle is the right to a state. And here it means it could be two solutions, it could be one solution, but at least they have the right to a state. This is the sixth principle. The fifth principle. The seventh one is the right to return. the right to come back, because this is their land and there is no discussion about the fact they were expelled and then they cannot come back. And the fifth one is we all agree, and this is a principle, that we are all going to be together against any kind of racism. Anti-Semitism is not acceptable. Anti-Arab take or anti-Palestinians and anti-Islamic, this is not acceptable. So we distinguish between any kind of criticism against the state of Israel and anti-Semitism. And this is a principle on which we have to agree. Having said that, these are 7 principles. Could we agree, yes and no? If we agree on this, globally, I think it's quite clear that we are responsible from where we are to say we are non-violent. We don't want violence. But our silence is promoting and nurturing their violence. So our way to deal with it is a global, non-violent movement of resistance, supporting the resistance of the Palestinians. They have to decide as to the means, we have to decide as our means. It means boycotting, it's an investment. To be clear everywhere at all the level that this movement is a non-violent movement, but is a determined movement to say there is an oppressor and there are oppressed people. I'm not saying that non-violence are there. It's, you know, this is something which has to be clear. We are speaking on 2 different levels. What is happening there and our support to their resistance. Because we are saying that if they are using violence and they are using arms, it's because the international community is silent. And this is because of this that we have to support their resistance. Their resistance is legitimate. So my position here is to distinguish between 2 attitudes. But what is our attitude on this? Are we saying here, staying here saying, we want this to be violent? This is not our discourse. Our discourse is to support that. Now, and this is the last point, if I have to come with this understanding, I think that as a Muslim, I can find many non-Muslims from all the backgrounds, any religion that can support this and we can come together. It doesn't mean that I don't have an Islamic take on this. What is the Islamic? Because at the end of the day we can try to remove it from the picture, but we have to say something. How do we see the future of Jews, Christians, Muslims living together? And I think that the starting point is to say, never forget in the process the Christians. Because there are some people, even here, in the UK or in Europe, they wanted to be Jews against Muslims. And we have to say that's not true. There are Christians that are also oppressed, and our take on this is equal rights, equal dignity, and no discussion about this. So our position is not to throw the Jews away or in the ocean and in the sea. No, this is not. It's equal rights and equal dignity in the common state. Or if it's the 2-state solutions that you are supporting, this has to be a principle. So this is something which is important. And not to dismiss that if Hamas is saying that our social work, our political resistance, our armed resistance is also nurtured by our Islamic ethics, we have to listen to this. Because you have Christians, Sabine, for example, theologian of liberation theologians, there saying exactly the same. And you have agnostic and atheists saying our resistance is based on our ethics. So they have different religions, different obediences, and different beliefs, but they use the same means. So don't let us be divided on this, because if we are divided on this, the oppressor is winning. And they are winning out of our own division, because we don't have a clarity in our discourse. So let us start by being clear on what we want, what are the principles that we are supporting, and do disagree on some of the means that we are also supporting, because I would say, for example, that I don't want to kill civilians, and that I am condemning by principle, ethically, anyone who is targeting civilians, knowing that he or she is going to kill civilians. Meaning by this that all this business about what happened in Gaza, telling us we are targeting the army but the civilians are behind, this is ethically unacceptable, to be condemned from the beginning till the end. I think that on this, at least, the global movement could work together.